All right, so now we're at question number 31. It's the first question on passage 3 of the ACT English test. Let's begin by reading it as is. The Bahamas, a series of semi-tropical islands off the southeast coast of the United States, which are home to some of the most unusual geological formations in the world, underwater caves known as blue holes. Now that should strike you as awkward, and take that awkwardness as a sign that maybe we want to double check 31 because A is probably not going to be the right answer. And if you're not sure grammatically how to go about this question, again, you can always find the most concise answer, the one with the least amount of words or the least amount of punctuation. Subvocalize that. If that one sounds awkward, find the next most concise answer, subvocalize that until you arrive at the right answer. Now, that's only if you're not sure what to do and it's kind of a last-ditch effort to try to answer this question. What we're going to do is go through these different answer choices and figure out why 3 of them are wrong, leaving us with the right answer. Let's start off with A. It has a comma here and a comma here, the word which, and let's read it and see what's going on. The Bahamas, a series of semi-tropical islands off the southeast coast of the United States. When do we use 2 commas? When do we use 2 commas? Well, we use 2 commas to set off non-essential information. It's called a parenthetical phrase or parenthetical reference, and this is a particular type of a parenthetical reference. Remember, it's just a fancy word for non-essential information set off between 2 commas. This is a special type called an appositive. Let's find out what an appositive is. If you don't know this, you definitely want to start writing this stuff down and get familiar with it because it's going to come up on future tests. An appositive is a special type of parenthetical phrase that directly renames or relabels the noun that it describes. Here are some examples. I have Dr. No, right? I like to think of him as my subject. And then I have this appositive over here. I would say it's the title. Dr. No, a well-respected scientist, made an important discovery. All right. Mr. Constantine, the 5th grade math teacher, was a favorite among the students. Notice how the information within the commas relabels, or you could say illustrates, the subject that's to the left of it. Now let's go back to our example and see if that's the case. The subject would be the Bahamas. And let's see if this illustrates it, a series of semi-tropical islands off the southeast coast of the United States. Perfect. Okay, so now that we know that these 2 commas are correctly placed, let's take out this information, right? Because it's not essential, so therefore, technically we don't need it, and the sentence should be fine without it. Let's see if that's the case. The Bahamas, which are home to some of the most unusual geological formations in the world, underwater caves known as blue holes. Now, this is incorrect as written, and I know this because I have the colons right here. Now, what do I know about colon usage? Or what do you know about colon usage? Well, most students know that to the left of it, we could have a list, but usually that's about it, right? We need to be aware it could be a question, we could just be illustrating something, whatever it is, it just needs to modify whatever's on the left. So it must modify whatever's on the left. Now, this information on the left has to be an independent clause. It must be a complete thought. A complete thought is something you can put a period at the end of. Can I put a period right there? The Bahamas, which are home to some of the most unusual geological formations in the world. No, I can't. I can't put a period there. So I know that as written, this is not an independent clause. It's a dependent clause, which means answer choice A must be wrong, and I have to move on to figure out another option. Let's look at answer choice B. B still has the comma there, but instead of this word which, we're using the word are. The Bahamas are, whoops, we already have are right there. The Bahamas are home to some of the most unusual geological formations in the world. Now, how does that sound? Does that sound like a complete thought? Right, it does. Notice how we take out this word which, and suddenly it's a complete thought. So I correctly punctuated my appositive with 2 commas. I took out the word which, making this an independent clause, which allows us to correctly use the colons because we need an independent clause to the left of the colon. So I know answer choice B must be correct. Now, there's another side note, something that you should be writing down right now, and that has to do with this word which. Notice how this word which, taken out, allows us to have an independent clause, which was at once a dependent clause. Which is a type of conjunction, right? So instead of a coordinating conjunction, it's a subordinating conjunction. And there's a huge list of them, and you don't need to memorize them. I just want you to start to look for them as you look at sentences and you see dependent clauses. Look for patterns of different types of words. So when you see certain words like this, it will be a clue to let you know, hey, we're in a dependent clause, or at least we're not in an independent clause. Okay, so why don't we take a look at answer choice C. Now, C takes this comma out altogether, right? So if we pick C, there would be no comma there. We wouldn't have the word which, but we would definitely not have a comma. Now, what would be wrong with that? What's wrong with not including this comma? Well, what's our subject? Our subject is the Bahamas, right? That's our subject. And then what's our verb? Our verb is are right here. The Bahamas are. And so what do I have between a subject and its verb? I have a comma. Can I put a comma between a subject and its verb? No, we can't, right? Because a comma separates essential from non-essential information. And both of these are essential to understand the meaning of the sentence. So if I were to take the comma out here, I would no longer have an appositive. I would just be left with one comma. And now my subject and my verb are separated by just one comma, and therefore it's wrong. Now, answer choice D, right? Answer choice D takes out which and the word are. So if we pick D, we would take out both of them. Let's read how that sounds. The Bahamas, home to some of the most unusual geological formations in the world. Again, that's not a complete thought. It's a little incoherent. It's very awkward. So D is going to be incorrect, leaving us with answer choice B. Okay, so what did we learn here? We learned that approaching this sentence, we could use concision subvocalization if you really need to. It's better to know the rules. So make sure you can correctly recognize when you have a parenthetical phrase, non-essential information, in this case in a positive. Take out that information to see if it makes sense without it. If it does, it's probably the right answer. If not, we need to figure out which one does make sense without it. We went through option A, which was a dependent clause because of this word which, that once we took out, we were able to create an independent clause, which is what we needed for B. How did we know we had a dependent clause and we needed an independent clause? Because we had colons here, and colons indicate we have to have an independent clause to the left of them. So I know that's why we needed the independent clause. Now C took out the comma altogether, which left us only with one comma, separating out a subject from its verb, which we can't do. And then D left the comma in, but took out the verb. And when we have a subject without a verb, it creates an awkward sentence at best. So D is going to be incorrect. Again, leaving us with answer choice B. Thank you.